Please welcome to the stage, Seth Patton.
Hello, everyone. Welcome, and thank you for joining us here in person and online from around the world. Microsoft is proud to continue our sponsorship of this year's SharePoint Conference North America. Personally, I'm excited because this is my favorite conference every year. So today, we're going to share our vision for the intelligent workplace. We're going to celebrate this awesome community, which is the best community in tech, and we're going to show new innovations that our engineering team has been working on for all of you and to empower people and organizations to achieve more. So we live in a time of inflection. The digital era is being described as the fourth industrial revolution. Each era before has resulted in a step change in technological capabilities, in new opportunities, as well as new concerns for how society and organizations can adapt. The Industrial Revolution ushered in new manufacturing processes, early communications, and long-distance transportation, first steam-powered and then electricity. With these rudimentary communications and transportation, organizations constructed sophisticated hierarchies to achieve command and control. But the downside to these hierarchies were brittle, rigid networks, slow to change, and unresponsive. This resulted in information silos and a focus on individual productivity, routine tasks, and specialization. Fast forward to today, and virtually every industry and every organization is being reshaped by digital transformation. We've spent the last couple of decades wiring the world together into a giant network. Smartphones have proliferated throughout the world, and connectivity is pervasive. The flow of information today is rapid, and data is the new currency. Workplace demographics have changed as well. Millennials now make up most of the workforce, and Generation Z, who are the true digital natives, are right on their heels. Telecommuting is a norm for many people today, and over half of Americans say that they've worked remotely at least some point. At the center of all of this change is people. Creating the right culture and upskilling employees is as important to digital transformation as modernizing technology. And more than ever, leaders are recognizing the importance of empowering everyone from the C-suite all the way to the front lines in order to have a more inclusive and engaged culture. Advances in cloud computing, mobility, and AI, along with modern workplace technologies like Microsoft 365, make now the best time that we've ever had to realize the vision of an intelligent workplace for everyone, where technology brings people together to foster a culture of inclusion and engagement, while also keeping company information safe and secure. A world where people have secure anywhere access to the information and resources that are relevant to them, where AI is infused in the flow of your work, where humans and agents work together to get things done faster, where leaders are connected to employees, where productivity meets business process, and where teams are fast and agile. Creating an intelligent workplace starts with empowering individuals. The heart and soul of every organization are each of us as individuals, and it's essential that we empower every individual with tools that make us more creative, make us more productive, and inspire us to do our best work, and to make the best use of our most important and scarce asset, which is our time. This is where tools come in, like the new Office apps, which are infused with AI to make everyone smarter. Tools like OneDrive that provide secure anywhere access to all of your files. And Outlook Mobile, which was designed to help you focus your time on what matters most. So it starts with individuals, but we know today how most work happens is within teams. We now spend 80% of our time collaborating on twice as many teams as we did just a few years ago. And with this shift towards teamwork has come an increase in the volume of communications and the types of communication tools. With these numerous modalities arose the need to bring all of these disparate tools together into a unified workspace. This is why we created Microsoft Teams, which brings together chat, meetings, calling, and collaboration with built-in Office 365 apps and third-party apps into a team and into a hub for teamwork. Not surprisingly, Microsoft Teams now is the fastest-growing business app in Microsoft's history, with over 500,000 organizations in just over 2 years. But not all work and communications happens at the individual or team level. It's also vital that we connect teams to the broader organization in order to break down silos, to create communities, and to share and discover best practices. And this is where tools come in, like Yammer, SharePoint, and Microsoft Stream, that connect people and teams across the organization in order to connect leaders to employees, in order to modernize communications, in order to create vibrant communities and improve employee engagement. SharePoint plays a special role in all of this because it underpins the experiences across individuals, teams, and organizations, powering content management and collaboration across Microsoft 365. We are honored and grateful to see the tremendous growth of customers using Microsoft 365. In fact, today there are 180 million people who use Office 365 every month. You can see a number of other statistics here for SharePoint, for Yammer, for Teams, for Stream, all experiencing phenomenal growth. More important than these statistics, though, are stories of customers who are using Microsoft 365 to transform their organizations. Let's take a look at a few examples. Roll the video.
Innovation is accelerating at a pace faster than it ever has. It's important for us to be able to connect with each other very, very quickly.
The nature of an airline means that it's extremely operational. 2/3 of our staff don't walk into a building. They're either on aircraft or they're servicing them.
Microsoft technologies have played a key part in improving communication and engagement across all areas of the company.
We can all look at the same schematics at different places. It's like being in the same room.
We have the ability to push the information so that people can get it when they need it. SharePoint allows our team to be a team.
We're no longer emailing copies of content to each other. We're actually collaborating over single versions across geographies, multiple people at different times.
Teams has absolutely empowered my team. They feel like they can go and make decisions, and they feel just as involved now with the business as I do.
We were able to connect everything from the senior leader all the way down to first-line workers. This responsiveness has just electrified our ability to care for customers in a way that's never been seen before.
We've created a different kind of culture. Instead of having a resistance to change, we have a resistance to stagnation. And having the right tools that enable that, it's essential. That's why Microsoft 365 is right for us.
There's some great examples there. I loved the quote near the end, Sherry Newbert, who's the CIO of Goodyear, talking about how the technology enables not just digital, but also cultural transformation, which is great to see. So we talked about the importance of teamwork, of fostering inclusion and engagement. And we talked about knowledge sharing and insights. Now for the remainder of this session, we're going to show how SharePoint and the rest of Microsoft 365 allows you to create an intelligent workplace focused on these three areas: teamwork and business process, employee engagement and communications, finally, search and content intelligence. Now, to help us take us through all of this, I'd like to bring up the product leader for Office, SharePoint, and OneDrive, Microsoft Corporate Vice President, Jeff Teper.
Good morning. Thank you, Seth. Thank all of you for coming to the SharePoint conference in Las Vegas or watching us online with the SharePoint Virtual Summit. We are excited and inspired to be with you here this week. There's over 200 members of the Microsoft team here in Las Vegas, and we have a lot to share. But before we get started, I thought I'd talk a little bit about the journey we've been on. It's been 20 years since I was running the first builds of SharePoint on a single server under my desk in Building 25 at Microsoft. Somebody had been in Building 25. And we couldn't have anticipated what happened. Today, SharePoint is one of the largest cloud services in the world. We run in 28 regions, 54 data centers, on 180,000 servers, accessing massive amounts of Azure storage and compute. And I'd say this number, and it's still humbling. Millions of new people are being exposed to SharePoint through Microsoft 365 every quarter. It's phenomenal. But the thing that surprised us and is the magic behind it all is not the technology, which is fun, but it is the people. The SharePoint community is unbelievable how organically thousands and thousands of meetings and user groups and free SharePoint Saturdays and regional events have come together where people are having fun, growing their careers, helping each other, sharing their best practices, giving us feedback. It's just really an unbelievable community. And the opportunities that Seth talked about means the needs for the community to translate technology to business needs are greater than ever before. And one of these challenges I'm thrilled the community has always risen up to is diversity and inclusion. This is top of mind in society, and technology in particular needs to step up and help in this space. This is not new for the SharePoint community. I am thrilled this week we are celebrating the 10th anniversary of Women in SharePoint. And that at the SharePoint conference, we have a dedicated track for just diversity and inclusion, where this amazing group of people can share their ideas and tackle some of society's most important problems together. So thank you for joining the SharePoint community. Seth framed our vision. We're going to now switch to talking about the innovations. We have a lot. I just counted. 12 blogs just went live. Please don't watch them. It's better to go read them. It's better to focus on seeing them. There'll be time to read them later. And one of the things as we go through these three pillars that I hope you'll see is we'll talk about SharePoint, both the app and the underlying platform. But we're going to address what we've heard from all of you, which is you want holistic solutions that tie these Microsoft products together in a seamless way, and the products fade a little bit, and what is most important is the solution or task the users needs to get done. So that's going to be a key theme for us. The first one we're going to focus on is teamwork and business process. From day one, we had this idea in SharePoint that we needed to be flexible. No two teams were the same, some small, some large, some short-lived, some long-lived, some needing out-of-box and quick time to value, some needing a lot of customization to adapt to their business processes. So we took the next step in our vision towards this 3 years ago with an event we called the Future of SharePoint, where we modernized a set of our experiences and connections across Microsoft including SharePoint powering OneDrive as the files experience, adding PowerApps and Flow embedded in SharePoint for these more advanced workflows, and foreshadowing what we would release the next year, Microsoft Teams, with deeper and deeper connections with SharePoint. And the response to this Future of SharePoint event was amazing. Since that day 3 years ago, the usage of SharePoint in Office 365 has grown fourfold. So we're very gratified for that. We've taken a bunch of feedback. We've got a lot of ideas. Rather than keep talking about them, I'm very excited that we're going to set our first demo showing the future of teamwork and business processes. Thanks.
I work with files every day, and it's a big part of kind of what I have to do to get things done. And if you're like me, one of the scenarios that you do the most is collating a whole bunch of files from other people. And today that involves sending a bunch of emails, dealing with attachments. Well, no more. With OneDrive, we're bringing a new feature we call Request Files. I can right-click on a folder here and click on Request Files, and immediately I'm brought into a custom experience for requesting files from other people. I can give it a new name. We'll put something special in there. And it's going to create a link that I can email directly from this interface to all the people who need to get it, or I can copy it out and put it in the place that I communicate with people most frequently. In this case, let's switch over and actually see what the result of the experience for a recipient is. So here I am as Eli. I've received this link, and I'm clicking on it. And I get told exactly what's going on. Jason's asking for some files. This is what he wants. And I can go and select whatever files here. I've prepared my proposal. I'm going to go ahead and add that and click Upload. And what's happening is that file is now being uploaded to the folder I selected earlier for all these to go in. And it's done. When I switch back over, we can navigate into the folder, and we'll see that file got uploaded. And the one detail you might notice is we do things like append the file to the file name, the name of the person who submitted it. It makes it that much easier to organize and sort through all of those files so I can find them later, especially if I'm working with lots and lots of people. I also do a lot of work directly in my Office clients. So I've been working on this Word document for a little while, and a feature that's near and dear to my heart is the ability to @mention people and bring them right into these collaborative experiences. In this case, I'm actually at a point that I need help from my friend Caruana. She's an expert on drones, and I want her to fill in some of the capabilities right now in this document. And when I click this, she's going to get a notification. If you've played with it, you've already seen that. But actually, I forgot to share it with her. And so OneDrive and Office are going to catch that, and then a single click make it very easy for me to share and notify. I'm not done. I got a lot more work. We switch over here to my PowerPoint. Now, I've been working on this deck for a little while, and my boss has been asking me a lot of questions about where I was on slide 4. I've updated it. It feels really good. I'm proud of it. It's very visually complete, and I want to share that with him. And so what I can do right here is right-click on that now and click on Link to this slide. And that's going to get me a sharing link to the whole file, but it's going to bring him directly to this slide when he clicks on it. I've got that link, and we can switch over to Teams where he and I chat, and I'm going to paste it in. Now what Teams is going to do is it's going to recognize that file, and it's going to convert it into this nice little view that shows me what I'm sharing without that URL. In fact, it's even going to let me do things like access all the sharing settings. So the same sharing control that I experience in Word, Excel, PowerPoint, in iOS, on Android, in OneDrive, and SharePoint, PC, and Mac, all of those same capabilities will show up in the exact same way here. And even more, all the IT policies that are set are respected. So for example, I can see that my IT organization has set an expiration policy. Cool. Now I can send him that, say, check out my slide, and hopefully he'll be pretty happy with it. Of course, not every file is actually a Word document or a PowerPoint file. There's a lot of others. And that's why in OneDrive and SharePoint, we support nearly 330 different file types for viewing natively inline in our experiences. So for example, one of the works we've been doing has been with our friends at Autodesk, building on their AutoCAD capabilities to support DWG files natively in the service. So here I am looking at a complex architectural diagram. I can zoom in, and I can see it exactly how it's meant to. I don't have to install any software. I don't have to go find something to view it or do anything with it. I'm immediately collaborative with this file right in line because I'm using OneDrive and SharePoint. We're also bringing 360-degree image support directly in line. So here I have an image that was taken out in Utah, I believe, in the desert here, and it's actually a beautiful photo. I can scroll all around it right here live in the browser. And as you saw, it was an incredibly smooth experience. Again, that means that whatever content I'm collaborating with others on, I can actually access and work with it right in line. Of course, I also do a lot of my work on the go. And so on my phone, I've got the latest Microsoft 365 apps. In fact, in OneDrive, we've been making a number of improvements recently. One of the big ones we did last year was integration of Office Lens technology directly into OneDrive and the addition of the giant scan button, make it really easy to find and use. And it's exploded in popularity. So as a result, we're making some new changes as well to make that even easier to use. When I click on Recent here, for example, I'll see the files that we just saw. I'll also see PDFs, scans, whiteboards, et cetera, that I've taken with the scan functionality. And because it's on my recent list, that means everywhere else I go, I get access to that same recent list, and I can easily move between devices and get my work done. We're also adding new capabilities around PDF annotations, making that both a better looking experience and also a lot easier to do. You'll notice shapes in particular. Of course, I'm often in Outlook, and I need to work in Outlook to make sure that I'm doing the right work with my actual files when I'm sharing them and collaborating with others. So we've upgraded the experience for attaching files. Now, when I tap on the paperclip, I'm actually going to get a new experience. It's going to include the recent list that we saw just earlier, the same as I have on the website or anywhere else. And I can go pick any of those files or browse through the rest of all the files I have in OneDrive and SharePoint. And in this case, I'm going to go add that AutoCAD file, and I'm going to choose to insert a link. Again, just like we saw in Teams, the link is using the exact same IT policies and defaults to make sure that I'm set up in the right way to protect the content and share it with the right set of other folks. So it's easy for me to do that on the go, and I don't have to take up a ton of data and time and battery sending a large file from my phone. It works right in line. I mentioned that my group works in teams a lot, and I thought I'd show a little bit of how we're making that file experience even better. So here we are in the sales and marketing team in the request for proposals channel. And I'm going to click on that familiar tab for files, but you'll see it's not so familiar once we have it loaded. I actually can expand it out, and I'll see all of the metadata that I would see and expect in SharePoint. And of course, it's not just that the metadata is present, it's visually distinguished. I can actually find and figure out things. It's easier to understand this content. I can even see things like actions that I can take, like emailing the person that is attached to that file. I can see where metadata is not included. And when I do things like choose a file and pin it to the top, that will be pinned for every user that uses this document library, regardless of what endpoint or experience they're on. We also have our full set of views, including our pre-programmed views, like files that need attention, which makes it easy to filter down to just the files that are missing metadata. That makes it a lot simpler if I want to get back to all of this content and work with it, if I'm in Teams, on SharePoint, or somewhere else. Finally, I'll call out that we've brought our full set of commands in line as well here. So if I want to do something like sync these files, I can do that right from Teams, and those files will be in sync on this device wherever I want to go, especially if I want to work offline. And speaking of sync, we've done a number of new work items this past year that are really kind of exciting improvements we're bringing it, from the preview for Windows Virtual Desktop so that you can use VDI scenarios with OneDrive, to the work that we're doing with single client install for those multi-user devices. Those are both in preview today, and you can go check them out. We're also bringing a fully native 64-bit client to sync later this year. But actually, what I wanted to talk about and show you for the first time ever was the work that we're doing to bring differential sync to files in OneDrive. Today, when you're using Word, Excel, and PowerPoint and you make changes, only the changes you make are automatically synced. It saves on performance, it saves on network time, certainly on battery life. Well, we're doing that for every other file in OneDrive and SharePoint now, and I thought I'd show you how. Here I've got a really, really big photo or image. It's about 1.1 gigs. This on conference, internet is going to be an exciting experience, so hopefully you'll all bear with me on it. But we're going to edit this thing in Paint. Paint is one of my favorite applications, so I figured why not? We'll do that on stage. And I'm just going to type in something like SPC19 is the best. And we're going to go ahead and save that. Now, it's a big gig file. It's going to take Paint a couple of seconds to actually save this. But as it does, you'll notice the sync client's immediately picking it up. And when we go look at that sync client, it's figuring out that actually it doesn't have to sync a gigabyte of file. It only has to sync the changes. And before I'm done telling you about it, it's already synced that entire file up to the cloud. I hope you've enjoyed these rich file collaboration and coherent experiences we're bringing across Microsoft 365. There's a lot more to come. Thanks.
Good morning, SharePoint conference. Those features were amazing, but there's more. With Microsoft 365, we can also extend and simplify our business processes. What you're looking at here is the desktop application of Microsoft Teams. And I'm here, my retail group is using Teams to collaborate on the work that they have to do to make a seasonal change in all of our storefronts. What you're looking at is a SharePoint list, and it's a beautiful SharePoint list right here in Teams. I'm going to go ahead and expand that. You saw me do it. Full screen view of your SharePoint lists inside of Teams. This is a good thing. This is a good thing, yes. Give it some love. You can do it. Thank you. So we're going to take a look at what this list is really giving us now. We're going to hop into the San Jose store. Now, what you're looking at here is really an integrated application. It's bringing together information from multiple different sources. And having been in retail IT once, I can tell you that this is not always that easy to do. It's showing me here that I have 3 required elements for my seasonal storefront change: fleece, a surfboard, and a bike. It's also showing me a picture that one of the employees has uploaded from that particular store. But on the other side, it's giving me the annual vendor spend for this store and a recent invoice with all of the data summarized for me. So having this integrated experience right there in that collaboration location where the team is already working is transformative. And you can see that Nestor and several other people, they're talking about planning as we're going, and I'm getting those alerts. Now, what I'm going to do, though, is I'm going to hop over to something that might be a little bit more familiar to you. This is my OneDrive, and I'm going to go ahead and open a file. This is Excel. I love Excel. Excel is a fantastic way to start modeling data. But I want to do a little bit more. I could continue collaborating with my colleagues here in this spreadsheet, but I'm going to go ahead and import this as a SharePoint list. This gives me the opportunity to apply line item security or extend the business process even further. So I'm going to hop over to my portal, I'm going to click on New, and I'm going to say List. Let's give it a name, Stores for Display. Now at this point, I have some options. I can import it from an existing list. If I click here, I'm going to see all of the sites that I'm a member of and the lists that are available to me. I could select one of those and base my new list on it. But instead, in this scenario, I'm going to hop over and I'm going to see my most recent files, and there's that location file that I talked about. I'm going to click on Next, and what's happening now is the tool's going and reading the data inside of Excel, and it's creating a data model, a map for me, that I can further refine. I'm going to refine this. Here it is. And I'm going to take a look at this for a second. All right, so I've got a column here that's state. Well, I don't want state to just be a single line of text. That doesn't make any sense. How about we turn it into a choice field? Yes. Give that some love, right? Because we want this to be a great experience as we continue to enter data. I'm going to look at the rest of these items. Oh, here's a column that has some random comments. I don't even want these random comments in my SharePoint list, so I'm going to say do not import. And lastly, we'll take applause for that. And lastly, here's the big one. This is actually a budget column. So I want this column to be currency, so it's formatted correctly in my list when I make my SharePoint list. Yes. This is exciting stuff. Excel is a wonderful tool, but you can bring it into SharePoint, and then you can even do more with it. And let me hop ahead just a little bit and show you one that we've already formatted. Now take a look at this gorgeous SharePoint list. It has conditional formatting applied. I'm a visual person. I like conditional formatting because I can already understand and get insights from the data before I've even started working with it. But I am going to work with it a little bit. I'm going to click on my filter pane here, and I only want to look at the stores for California and Texas. Those are the ones I'm responsible for. So it filtered my list. Now I'm going to go into Quick Edit. Now Quick Edit is our familiar view, but look, the conditional formatting is still there, and I can edit this data right at the same time. So I'm going to go ahead and make a change to this budget for this store. Increase that budget a little bit. All right, now that change is happening, the rest of the team can see it, and this is a great step forward. Again, I could be applying formatting, additional formatting and security to these items if I wanted to. But there's a further step. We can also extend this into this kind of a gorgeous list by using Flow. Now, if you haven't used Flow already, we highly recommend it. Flow gives you connectivity between all of the different services in Microsoft 365. It's fantastic for doing review and approvals, but it can also extend more robust business processes like what we're doing. Let me show you this flow here. So this is a flow that we've actually wired to Azure Cognitive Services. So what's happening out in the field with my stores is that employees are uploading pictures of those storefront displays. Azure Cognitive Services is analyzing those pictures against a model that we made earlier of what we really want those storefronts to look like. Once it analyzes that and it has a degree of confidence, it goes ahead and it tags that particular file. Right? The tagging of that file, the altering of those properties, is actually what gives us the beautiful icons that we see here in our list. So as we look at the list, we have this visual indication of which of the stores are really doing the storefront displays the way that we want. So Azure Cognitive Services and Flow are really freeing your team. Think about this for a second. If the system is doing this for you, then your people can actually be doing higher impact work. They can be landing your business objectives with more speed. They can be working to resolve a customer issue instead of reviewing every single image that's coming in from around the country. Now, we also know we're going to go ahead and take a look at this store, and we're going to send it out for review because it's already got all the information in it, but we know that not everybody is working at a desktop. Many people are also working on the go. And of course, we have a Microsoft Teams mobile application. So I'm looking here at the mobile application, and I can see the same teams that I'm a member of. I'm going to go ahead into planning, and I can see the conversation here that's happening about the stores that I've flagged for review. I'm going to go ahead and give this a thumbs up, and I'm going to reply, "Great work." So this is all happening while I'm somewhere else other than my desktop. Now, this isn't just a demonstration here at SharePoint Conference, though it's a fun one, and I'm happy to do it. But Marks & Spencer is a retailer that is already doing this work. They have 1,000 people, first-line workers, who are receiving multiple promotions through PowerApps and Flow. They use Microsoft Teams as their hub for teamwork, and every day they're actually transforming and improving their customer experience. Today we've released the article and the video about this, so we hope you'll go and take a look. Right? These capabilities are available for you today, so start building.
For IT to deliver all these cool innovations that you've been seeing, security and governance of data is critically important. We also know that managing all your data in a consistent manner can be a challenge, and that is why we have introduced classification labels. You can use retention labels to apply retention policies to all of your data. You can use sensitivity labels. Let's make sure we're signed in. You can use sensitivity labels to apply consistent security and access policies to all of your data. You can use sensitivity labels to apply content marking. You can control the privacy setting of a group, and you can even control the level of access your users can have from an unmanaged device. You can also use sensitivity labels to restrict access to specific users in your organization. Here I've created a label called Executive Team Only. It is meant for the executive team to protect documents they want to share only amongst themselves. To enable that scenario, I have turned on Microsoft Information Protection for this label, so the documents will automatically get protected, and only those who are member of the leadership security group will have access to these documents. Now, I happen to be a member of the executive team, so as I'm working in a document, I can use the sensitivity dropdown to apply this label. Notice in the bottom left corner, this little lock icon that's appeared, which is telling me that this document is now protected. That means I can store this document anywhere or share it with anyone, and protection is always enforced. And I'm happy to announce that SharePoint now has support for full collaboration for protected documents. I know, pretty cool. In fact, this document is actually saved in a SharePoint document library. As you can see, I have a few documents here labeled Executive Team Only. When I click on this document, I can now open it in online Office applications, and I can be productive on the go. Not just that, as I'm working on this document, I notice that Jason Moore, who's also a member of the executive team, is also working on this document, and Jason and I can actually collaborate on this document in real time, something you could not do before. Pretty cool, you can clap, yes. And of course, protection is still enforced in SharePoint. So Lee, who has access to the SharePoint site, but is not a member of the executive team, when he tries to open this document, he is denied. And you, as an admin, can now do DLP and e-discovery on these documents too. Pretty cool, right? So the next two features I want to show you help you protect your content from overexposure. You can now create a DLP policy that blocks anonymous sharing of sensitive files, as I've done here for any files that contain financial data. So as a user, when I'm working with one of these files, like this file here, which contains a lot of customer credit card information, DLP has automatically flagged this file as sensitive. And when I try to share this file, notice that I don't have the ability to create an anonymous link because of organizational policy. I can only share this file with specific external users. This feature makes sure that your sensitive information is not overexposed because of an anonymous link that is overshared. The second feature I want to show you is you can now set a tenant-wide limit for how long an external user can access shared content in a site. Here, I've set the limit to 30 days, which means that after 30 days, an external user will automatically lose access to all the content in a site, any shared content. I know, big request from lots of you. And as a site owner, I can see the list of all the users, external users, who have access to any files in my site. I can see when their access is expiring. And if I want, I can actually extend their expiration, or I can revoke their access right now. And you, as an admin, now no longer have to go revoke access per site or per user. Pretty cool. And now let's talk about ease of management. The new SharePoint admin experience makes it really easy for you to manage SharePoint. But we've heard feedback that it's missing some of the features that you're used to using from the classic admin experience. So I'm happy to announce that we now have full feature parity with the classic experience. So everything you could do there, you can now do in the modern experience. You don't have to switch between the two. We're also making it easier to manage sites. So you can select multiple sites, and you can take bulk actions on it. So with one click, I can actually change the sharing settings for all of these sites. And finally, we're addressing one of the top user voice requests from you. You can now change the URL of a site. I have a site here that used to be called Project vReality. We have since renamed the site. It's called Drone. The site owner has already updated the name of the site and the content. But notice that the URL still says Project vReality. You can now go to the admin center, and with just one click, I can change the URL of this site. So I'm going to call it Drone. Hit save. If I want, I can update the name of the site here too, but in this case, the site owner has already updated the name, so I'm going to skip that step. It's going to take a few seconds to update the URL. We're making sure that once we update the URL, everything on the site keeps working. Nothing is broken. Just give it a few seconds. Once it's updated, there you go. I'm going to click on the new URL, and notice it's the same site. All the content is there. But you may ask, what about the links that were pointing to the old site? Well, we fixed that too. Yes. So here I have email that was sent to me by Megan yesterday. She shared, you can see it came a few days ago. She actually shared a file with me that pointed to this particular site, which I've just renamed. When I click on this link, notice that I can open the file. That's because we're redirecting. You can clap. We are redirecting any of the links that pointed to the old site to automatically point to the new sites, so your users don't get disrupted. Sync will continue to work. Most recent files list will continue to work. Any sharing links, everything continues to work. And best of it, as an admin, you don't have to copy the content from the old site to the new site. So as you can see, we're bringing a lot of innovation to make your life as an admin easier and give you greater peace of mind. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Navjot and Caruana and Jason. We're in Las Vegas, so anybody who bet that site rename was going to get the biggest applause just gets paid out right now. Behind the scenes, there's some rich people who looked at the whole script, and that was what they had their money on. So a lot of new stuff. We're really excited to get this out to you. New value for, as you just saw, IT people, people creating custom solutions, and end users across our spectrum of tools. But before we get to the next set of demos, we thought we'd take a little break, and I'd do something I hadn't done before, which is geek out on the back end of SharePoint a little bit. Over the last couple of years, we've rewritten the user experience in the development platform. We even have a new logo to signify this new experience. But we also have massive new architectural investments that we've made behind the scenes. In fact, most of the SharePoint engineering team, hundreds of engineers, have been working on that back-end infrastructure to scale for the cloud and add new capabilities. And so I thought I'd talk about those for a little bit, because it's work we've done across Microsoft, across the Azure team, the SharePoint team, and the Office team. So let me highlight a few. Azure. People may know this, may not know it. SharePoint is the biggest customer for Azure storage in the company, or even in the world. And so that means we work really closely with them to advance the underlying capabilities in Azure Blob and Azure SQL to optimize the performance in our access patterns. We used to serialize requests to Azure Blobs for pieces of files. We've deserialized and parallelized those. The Azure team has done a bunch of work in the efficiency and performance of Azure SQL in order to let us deliver better performance at lower cost. And the great thing is all that feedback from us is available to everybody else building on Azure. At the SharePoint layer, we've rewritten a lot of core technology to give us the next 10x growth in storage that we need. First, we've got a brand new file I/O stack that we've done a lot of work at the HTTP and IP level in the kernel with the Windows team, so that once we get the data from Azure, we can deliver it to the clients as fast as possible. And we've completely redone huge chunks of our SQL storage architecture, so we get the benefits of transactional support for all the business logic, and there's a lot of business logic in the features you just saw, but with optimal performance, reliability, and cost. And lastly, in the Office tier, we have a brand new protocol for how Office and SharePoint talk to each other to allow massively scalable co-authoring in a document, dozens of people's in an Excel spreadsheet. For those of you who want to geek out, we used to have a protocol called Cobalt that's supplemented with something we call OCS, or the Office Collaboration Service. And we've redone, both on the web and in the desktop apps, how Office opens files from SharePoint with a long list of things, but highlighting two. One is something we call zero round trip, where if we know we've got the file locally, we really then don't go to the server. A lot of people have given us feedback that, hey, I've got it, you went to the server anyway. Well, we needed to check the metadata. We can sort of go to the client and then go to the server, and we've optimized that path. But the thing I'm most excited about is, especially for large PowerPoints, something we call incremental open, where we've redone huge swaths of the Office client logic. So if you open a large PowerPoint, we can get the first couple of slides, and then we can fault in the rest, but you can get working immediately. So a lot of geeky stuff that we love. Why does this matter? It's about the user experience. We've turbocharged the SharePoint storage architecture so we can deliver better file experiences. Over the last 2 years, file downloads, including the sync performance, tenfold improvement. Office client app opening of large files, at least 3x improvement. This depends on you having more recent Office desktop builds through Pro Plus, but it is pretty dramatically different for large files. Another piece I didn't talk about is search. For those of you who've been with SharePoint for a long time, you know we crawled SharePoint from our search engine. Last year, we introduced a new layer between the graph and SharePoint called the Content Push Service, where we're sending signals and content and group membership updates efficiently so that these search and AI features, some of which you'll see in half an hour or so, can show up in seconds as opposed to minutes. And all this has been architected in a way where it's, of course, when we get to write the Office client apps, we take advantage of it in the apps. But wherever possible, we've made it support all sorts of file types, from Markdown to 3D to AutoCAD and more. And the thing I'm most proud of is it's easy, or it's relatively easier in software to lower cost and optimize performance, but to do so while you're adding features, all these capabilities for collaboration, AI, and security, add compute and storage. And I'm really excited we've been able to deliver this while making those feature investments. But wait, this is last year's work. What's coming up next is a new SharePoint storage layer for how we put things on disk in Azure. This next generation storage layer we didn't get to show first, but we get to talk about it in depth because Satya showed it a couple weeks ago at Build. He introduced something our team has been working on called the Fluid Framework. This is a new distributed data structure platform that allows real-time, zero latency co-authoring, near zero latency co-authoring on components between human and AI. And you see a simple version of this on the screen with 4 windows up and people, you'll notice that as people type, there's not this jumpiness of the cursor that you see in collaboration tools today. But a little more demanding example is this one, where we've got 9 browser windows, each of them typing away, and our AI translating in real time. And we showed this at Build, but what we didn't talk about was this was live in production against SharePoint Online using this new next generation storage layer on SharePoint. One more. One of the things, I've been a component guy from the beginning. People who followed my careers know the first thing I did was demo VBA, and then we did web parts in SharePoint. This is the next generation of components. What we showed here is a component in a compound document in Word, a table, where I've shared out pieces of that table into chat in Teams, and we also demoed it at Build inside Outlook, and that we have real-time co-authoring of that component, just that subcomponent, in the communication tools across with the content tools. Now, another thing we didn't talk about Build, but we're going to show, I guess, in an hour or so, in the best developer talk ever in the history of SharePoint from Vesa and team, is we're going to show this running inside a SharePoint web page, where a SharePoint web part, speaking the UX layer, the SharePoint framework, will talk to this new data layer, the Fluent framework layer, and then go persist into the new SharePoint storage layer that we've built inside Azure. So hopefully you can see in our architecture investments, as much as we're excited about the things that Jason and Caruana and Navjot showed you that's here today or coming very soon, we are already working on some huge leapfrog investments in content collaboration for the next year, 18 months out. So really excited about all that. SharePoint is investing for the long term. All right, next up, we're going to talk about employee engagement and communication. That's the second of our 3 pillars. This is top of mind for every CEO as people want to inspire their team, recruit top talent, get them working together globally. And we've heard it's more and more important that these communication and social tools have an amazing experience. And so we've done a lot of work as we did the new SharePoint experience over the last couple of years. But we recognized that it was important to tell the story in a more powerful way, not just to IT people or end users, but new people that we hadn't talked to quite as much, like people in corporate communications. And so last year, we released something called the SharePoint Lookbook. If you haven't seen it, go search online, SharePoint Lookbook. It's amazing. It's the best collateral our design team's ever done until now. We decided people's attention spans are short. We should put together a video to communicate the engaging new experiences we've got. And so let's take a look at the new experience video we have done for SharePoint. What do you think? Our design team sent me the final cut on Sunday night, and I kept watching it over and over, so I missed most of Game of Thrones. I think I made a good choice, but you can decide. What's exciting about this experience is that we're seeing lots and lots of organizations adopt it. Hundreds of thousands of organizations have made communication sites that we introduced not too long ago in SharePoint one of the most quickly adopted experience layers we've done. But rather than jump right into the next round of that work, I thought it was really valuable to step back and hear from a customer, one of our leading edge and most innovative customers who's adopted this, and hear from them the value of this experience. And so with that, let me bring up Kevin Schramm from Takeda. Kevin, welcome to the SharePoint conference.
Hello. Thank you. It's great to be here.
Thank you so much for joining us this week.
This is a great opportunity to share our story. How can we pass it up?
Great. So maybe start by telling us about Takeda and the acquisition of Shire and all that.
Yeah, sure. So Takeda is a global biopharmaceutical company. We're patient-focused. We're values-driven. Our R&D is a key pillar for us as well. We started 237 years ago in Osaka, Japan, at a time when herbal medicine quality wasn't consistent. So that became our differentiation in the marketplace. We see that differentiation today in our corporate values: patient, trust, reputation, and business. Those are our priorities. That's how we make decisions today. So with the acquisition of Shire, we're now 50,000 employees strong across 80 countries globally.
That's great. So bringing these companies together, culture, establishing a culture must have been top of mind. Tell us a little bit about that.
Absolutely. I said patient was our #1 value, and so being patient-centric for us means business continuity. We have teams that are trying to come together and build new organizations, but we have to focus on our operations. So we knew that we wanted to create a shared experience as these employees came together. We chose the moniker together, Takeda, to create that shared experience. We gave our Shire employees Takeda.com email addresses, but we also knew that we had to have a common shared intranet so that folks could get information as they came together more quickly and more consistently.
Maybe tell us a little bit more about that intranet and what you needed and the launch process and all that.
Yeah, exactly. So the existing intranet wasn't really scalable for us, and so we took the extra challenge of not just giving our Shire employees coming into the organization access to that intranet. We said, why don't we build the entire intranet all over from scratch? So while that was challenging, it gave us a couple of benefits, right? We had fresh content, we had a fresh look and feel, we had fresh branding, we had a platform that could scale for us as we went forward. Your platform, and it gave us features that we would also continue to have, sort of into the future as well.
That's great. And role of Yammer and SharePoint, all that, in that?
Yeah. I mean, it's all part of the mix. I think for us, the other interesting sort of challenge that we took on is we wanted to make that intranet available not only on day one, but in 8 different languages. So we worked together on building that. That solution's now available to the community, but it was a great win, I think, for all of us.
And clearly, so this launched in January. To over 50,000 employees.
Yeah.
How did you measure success, and maybe give us some stats on sites and usage and all that?
Sure. So for us, obviously success is about usage. So what we're seeing is north of 120 million hits to the site, extremely low kind of user incidents and tickets, less than 1%, I believe. But maybe more importantly than usage is what I'll call adoption. So our user community has self-serviced the creation of 300 communication sites, 2,000 team sites since January.
Wow.
Right, so they're out there using it. And our leadership is embracing it as well. We have a weekly newsletter that comes out to all employees. And rather than that newsletter being, kind of fresh new content, it's basically links back to the intranet site. It's reinforcing this message that the intranet site is the single source of truth. And it's giving all of our employees, as they move through this new organization, kind of a common source to go to.
That's terrific.
Yeah, it's great.
Thank you so much for your adoption. I'll talk about your feedback in a second, and sharing your story with us.
Yeah.
Any closing thoughts?
Yeah, I said single source of truth, and I think for me especially, and for all of us, I would think of things as truth and sort of transparency helps to build trust, right? So the internet is just one way that we're putting fresh information out as soon as we have it, as accurate as it can be. We're obviously in a very dynamic environment right now, but that's one way that we're sort of trying to live those values that we have and maybe reinforce the culture that we're trying to continue as we bring this organization together.
That's terrific. Thank you so much, Kevin, for joining us.
This is great.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, everybody. Have a great conference.
Thank you. It's really fun to think about something, brainstorm it, write the code, get it into service, and see real organizations benefit from it. But that's not where the process ends from us. I kicked off at the beginning talking about this is not just us sharing, but us learning. We've worked with dozens, if not hundreds, of organizations like Takeda directly as we've watched them evolve their intranets and meet organizations' needs. And we always look at it, we always go in the room as they do the demos, we say, how could we make that easier? Where did we make them do too much work? How could we make it more out of the box? Or with the places they want to do customization for branding or integration, how could we simplify that too? And so we've not just shared our work with organizations like Takeda, but we've learned from them and used it to inspire the next generation of SharePoint experiences. And today we're announcing the next step. SharePoint home sites. This is the most out-of-box intranet or digital workplace solution we've ever done, combining the assets of SharePoint with Teams, Stream, Yammer, and much more, with easier and easier customization to meet the needs of organizations like Takeda running in the cloud. There's 4 big pillars for our SharePoint home sites investments. First is giving you personalized news and content. Second is seamlessly baking in social and video into the experience with Stream and Yammer. Third is making sure that search and navigation, which is top of mind for these intranets, as organizations like Takeda add thousands of sites, giving a way to navigate across them. And lastly, a great user experience on web and mobile that addresses modern accessibility needs so everyone can have access to the internet. So rather than keep talking about it, I'm very excited for us to not only show you the new SharePoint experience, but some very big announcements in Yammer and Stream that are connected as well. Let's take a look.
Thank you. So today, I'd like to show you how the intelligent intranet, powered by Microsoft 365, can help you drive employee engagement and communication. Now, Jeff just talked about home sites, that personalized landing experience for your organization. And you can see here, I've got my home site up. Now, the communicators in my company have this canvas here to tell their story in rich images that they want me to know, the information that I have to consume. But as I scroll down here, you notice as well, I can have personally relevant news and information that's important to me based on my job. Now, news in an organization can come from a lot of different sources. And as administrators, you can go out and mark some of those key sites as authoritative news sites. And you'll see, as an employee, I get this visual cue right here that helps draw me in to those key points that I want to experience and engage with. Now, as we continue down, though, you can see here we've got embedded video so that I can get that rich, dynamic content, have access to all of that video from across the entire enterprise right here on my home site. Now, in modern communication, it's not just about pushing information to employees, it's about having a rich two-way dialogue with them. And you can see right here on the page, right on the home site, we can have those conversations back and forth in the organization. Now, when we designed this home site here, you can see that we took advantage of a new design feature on the right-hand side here with this vertical section. This allows you as a designer to have much more densely laid out pages if that's what's right for your organization. You'll also notice that this is built using a lot of the new personalized web parts that are available. If I come to the top of the page, you'll see that I've got search right here. I've also got the newly released mega menu so that I have access to all of the information, not just on the home site, but across the entire digital estate. Now, you can build one of these home sites in minutes as opposed to months, just like you can any other site in SharePoint. But when you create one of these home sites, it gets certain superpowers. Now, one of those superpowers is the ability for me to easily come right from my home site to my SharePoint start page. And so here, as you're familiar with, I can see all the news and the frequent sites and the recent documents. But you'll also notice that my company branding and navigation has followed me right to that page. And now with one click, from anywhere on my intranet, I can easily jump right back to my home site. But it doesn't end there, because if I go somewhere else, for example, here into Outlook, you'll see that my company branding has followed me there, and once again, that simple one click right back to my home site. So I can always ground myself, I can always get back to that center. Now, if I switch over here to my mobile device, what you'll see is that we had a great experience on our PC, but I also have a great experience no matter where I'm working, no matter where I am on the go. And with one simple tap in the mobile application, I can also get right to that home site. And because it's natively mobile, you can see all of the rich personalized news, the video, all of that conversation that is going on is available right here for me no matter where I am. Now, as Jeff was mentioning, news is important and people work in different ways throughout the day. And it's important to be able to reach them and communicate with them about that news. If I come here into my email, you'll notice I've gotten a news digest of everything that's been going on and happening. And with one quick tap, I can get right from my email right into the news and the information that I need to know to do my job. If I come back over here to my PC, what we'll see is I still got that same article once again laid out in a beautiful format based on where I am. But I can easily walk this up, right? Home sites are about that top level in the intelligent internet. But your intranet has much broader reach. And you can create a lot of very rich sites here. Here, what we've done in this organization is we've actually gone and created a leadership connection site. And you can see I've got all the images here to continue to tell that rich, beautiful story. I've got news from our company leaders so I can stay connected with them. We've also embedded here using the live events functionality in Microsoft 365. So every time there's a town hall in the organization, I have one place to come. I could watch it live when it's happening. I could come back later and watch it on demand or other content that the leadership wants me to know with this site. And again, I've got that rich two-way dialogue here directly with the senior leadership and the executive team inside of the company. Now, the Leadership Connection is a great example of an organizational-wide site, but a lot of times there are other sites that have to be created for smaller functions or for different purposes. Here we've created a giving site. And you can see again, I've got a beautiful site here that took me, very little time to create and build. But what's interesting about this site is joined a hub. Now, every site you can create can join a hub. And when you create those hubs, what you'll notice is I've got some unified navigation up here. If I take and I go up to the hub, all of the sites in the hub can roll up their content to the top. In addition to that unified navigation, if I click down into a different site, for example, this new employee orientation, you notice that all of the branding, all of the theming, all of the design work automatically is applied. So everyone has a consistent feel and experience no matter where they are through these pages and these sites. Now here I've got a great new employee orientation site, but we know that sometimes businesses change, and you have to keep up with that rate of change. And it's easy to move a hub or move a site from one hub to another, and you get all of that new branding, all of the goodness of that new hub as you need it. Now, building sites is quick, but we're working on tools to make it even easier for you. And one of those tools I'd like to talk about is currently in beta, and that's the SharePoint online provisioning service. With it, you can quickly deploy samples and solutions and customize them to meet the needs in your organization. I encourage you to go check it out. So you've seen how the intelligent internet, powered by Microsoft 365, delivers digital experiences that drive employee engagement and communication. Thank you.
The best performing organizations are those where every employee is engaged, from the executive suite to the first line. And employee engagement should begin on day one. In fact, 54% of companies with onboarding programs for new employees report higher engagement overall. So let's explore how SharePoint, Stream, and Yammer come together to create this engaging experience for new employees. Here on my new employee orientation page, I can see my documents, conversations. And conversations are a critical part to employee engagement, and especially the peer-to-peer connections that you make. So let's go ahead and jump into Yammer. Here in the new employee group, I can come, I can talk to my colleagues, we can meet each other, we can share experiences. I can also come here with questions. So let's ask one. Critical question, are dogs allowed in the office? So I'm going to post that, and while we're waiting for some responses, I'm going to go down a little bit. So here I can see that Grady asked a question as well, and it looks like he has a lot of responses. So with the new features in Yammer that are going to be available next month, with this Q&A experience, Grady can actually go and mark the best answer. Here you'll see he marked Megan's best answer. And now when anybody comes back that has a similar question, they can easily find those answers without having to sort through all the responses. Yeah. All right, let's see. We got a response, and it only took 50 seconds. That's pretty impressive. And you'll notice, actually, the response came from our HR bot. So in Yammer, you can create an answer bot very simply to respond to frequently asked questions. You simply connect to Microsoft Flow and let the technology do the work. So in addition to the peer-to-peer conversations, engaging with leaders and between leaders and employees is also very important for engagement. About 2 months ago, we announced live event capabilities in Microsoft 365 across Yammer, Stream, and Microsoft Teams. And these live events allow leaders to connect with employees using immersive video and discussion. So here I'm looking at a past event that happened, and I can see all of the discussion that happened before the event, during the event, and even after the event. And so right now here, we're attending afterwards, but just because I missed this event, it doesn't mean that I actually have to miss the event. I can still participate just like everyone else did during. And here, it looks like Christy asked everyone to share a quick intro video with the team. So because of new capabilities that are coming to the Microsoft Stream mobile app, I'm able to do that with video. So let's take a look. I'm going to jump over here to my Microsoft Stream mobile app. Here, I'm going to record a new video. Hi, this is me close up. I'm very excited to join the team, looking forward to meeting you all. Not too bad, we won't retake that one. And so with that, I'm going to add a quick title here. We'll just call it intro. And then I'm going to publish it and share it. And so the nice thing about this is it's all done securely in the mobile app, so I never have to worry about this video actually living on my own device. And then it's easy to share, theoretically. I can share it via text, email, Teams, Yammer, or more. So creating video is very simple, as we saw, but the other piece of that is being able to discover videos. And on mobile, that's increasingly important as we see more and more people using their devices at work. So here, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do a search for some videos. As a new employee, procedures and policies are probably pretty important, so I'm going to go ahead and look up safety. So what we can see here is I have a couple results, both of which have safety in the title. What you'll also see below that, though, is that there's 3 other items listed. And this is actually the technology detecting every word that's spoken in the video and showing me where it appears. So I can see that safety is spoken 3 times in this video. And when I click on that, I'm able to jump to that point in the video. So it saves me time navigating that content. I don't have time to watch it right now, and you probably don't want to. So I'm going to go ahead, and I am going to make this available for offline playback. And so this means when I'm flying back to Redmond, I can watch this on the plane if I want. And it remains securely encrypted on my phone. So even though it's offline, I don't have to worry about my company's important information getting out. So back here on our new employee orientation screen, I'm going to scroll down. In addition to the Yammer conversations, I can see upcoming events, my campus map. I can also see some stream videos that have been embedded here. Let's go ahead and play one of these training videos. So it's easy to embed videos inside of SharePoint, Teams, Yammer. And with new features coming to market just this month, we're making it easy to add quizzes, forms, polls, surveys into your videos directly. Video is a great way to deliver more impactful training, as you saw. And so with that integration, anyone will be able to do that. In addition to video, using interactive experiences in general is a great way to keep employees engaged in the content. And to take this a step further, we can use mixed reality to take learning to another dimension. SharePoint Spaces empowers anyone to create immersive mixed reality experiences. And last year we shared an early look at SharePoint Spaces. Since then, we've been working closely with customers to identify how we can learn together, build the right scenarios that people need, and bring this to you. While we're still on the journey with some of those customers, I want to share a story that hits close to home. It's actually about 20 miles from my home. So as some of you may know, Microsoft is rebuilding their campus, and they're building it to be a more modern workplace. Our own real estate and facilities team wanted to give employees a vision of the new campus while still preserving the legacy of the original one. So a mixed reality project like this would have been out of reach technically and financially. But SharePoint Spaces made it easy for the team to create an immersive experience that can be viewed by anyone. And here we're going to look at it in a browser today, but it's even more immersive if you use a headset. So let's take a look at an experience similar to what they created. Here I am in my space, and I can see the vision for the new campus, a new map and layout. I can also watch this video that shows the projected vision. And while this is great, we still want to preserve some of that legacy. This is Lake Bill. In the 80s and 90s, I'll try not to make you sick. In the 80s and 90s, I got one laugh. In the 80s and 90s, employees would gather around the lake after they finished a big project. And to celebrate, they would have drinks and they would throw their managers into the lake. Yes, I know, crazy. And so we're able to preserve these memories and this history and bring these experiences to life with immersive 360-degree images, video, and more in SharePoint Spaces. We look forward to sharing more about you and more announcements around Spaces at Ignite. Thanks.
Thanks, Christina. Thanks, Brad. So it's exciting to share the latest that's coming with SharePoint and Yammer and Stream and Spaces. We are really excited about the world of 3D transforming intranets. We're early in that journey. We've got some updates here and a lot more at Ignite. One of the things that we get asked after a demo like that is what I call the question. The conference question. You're like, I wonder what he means by the question. The question is always, is SharePoint an app or is it a platform? And the answer to the question is always, it's both. We have a whole dedicated session right after this talking about SharePoint the platform, where we're talking about the next round of work in the Microsoft Graph, the SharePoint framework, how it integrates with Teams and more, PowerApps and Flow, and so forth. But in particular, when we talk about something like a more out-of-box intranet, people wonder about the opportunities for customizations and partner innovation. And we couldn't be more thrilled with the opportunities, because as we've moved to Office 365, we see more and more resources available, not just to run servers, but to invest in applications on top. And so we're really excited with, in particular, the announcement of this SharePoint home experience, that some of the most innovative partners building intranet solutions in digital workspaces have decided to bet on top of that. This is something under NDA we've shared with them for a little bit so they could adapt their plans. And a number of them here this week at the SharePoint conference, that as we take our out-of-box experience and customization platform to the next level, they're going to go even farther with their amazing solutions on top. So I'm really excited. A number of them are here this week to talk about the next round of their plans. And I'm very confident that even as SharePoint the application evolves, SharePoint the platform will continue to enable people to build more and more amazing experiences, to give you all choice in innovation. And that's what an open platform provider like Microsoft does. So next section, and the concluding one, is on search and content intelligence. No secret that AI is the hottest area in technology right now. We are working hard at Microsoft to be on the forefront of not just investing in AI, but making it relevant and helpful for people navigating information and automating business processes. A specific component of this has been our work at Search as a foundation. In fact, we're very excited this week to celebrate the general availability of Microsoft Search. And before we show it, I want to sort of give two reasons why I think this is a special project for us. Because people would say, hey, you've had Search for a while. There's been enterprise search. We've heard this before. You know, what's different? There's two things that are different. First is Search traditionally ran off inverted index data structures that would basically count words in documents and rate them relative to those word frequencies. And clearly more sophisticated ranking algorithms have come along. But what we're doing in Microsoft Search is really a leapfrog because we use machine learning of all the content and signals and activity and social graph to not just build an optimal model for the world. Every organization and its individual is different. We use machine learning to build optimal models and refine them every day based on things like click-through and search results and usage of documents to refine those ML models for every organization and every user to make them far more relevant. So that's thing one. The relevance is fundamentally better. Thing two is this has been the best one Microsoft project I've been associated in my career at the company. You know, we really had to bring all the assets to bear, from the Office team to the SharePoint team to the Bing team to Microsoft Research, because you all want consistent search wherever you go, in the browser, in Windows, in Office, in SharePoint, in Teams, in Bing. And so we did something that is going to sound obvious when I say it, but was culturally a bit hard. We built an open source repository inside Microsoft for internal open source, where teams from across the company are contributing to this shared user experience that's hosted in these different applications. So as you see, as we add conversation support with Yammer and video support with Stream, those teams can contribute to that shared source space. The Bing team was one of the biggest drivers. You'll see this hosted in Bing, but that Bing IP and experience and expertise is going to show up in the Office experiences as well. So I am really excited for you to take a look at Microsoft Search and the next generation of content intelligence capabilities that are built on top of it. Let's take a look.
So last year, we updated the SharePoint mobile app and made search its centerpiece. So let's see how that looks. When I launch the SharePoint app, I'm taken directly to the Find tab, where I can quickly access my frequent sites, people, files that I worked on, and links from my organization. And with one tab, I can start searching for something, find it, click on it, and open it on my device when I'm on the go. And now let's take a look at how Microsoft Search shows up in SharePoint home sites. Here I am in my beautiful home site that we saw just earlier. And the Microsoft Search search box is prominently placed on top in the header. When I click on it, without having typed anything, I can get personalized suggestions based on the sites that I frequently use, the files that I recently worked on, or the news articles that are relevant to me. Let's do a search for my company's logo. I type in Contoso logo. And on top of my search results, I get back a bookmark that my administrator has created for me, showing me an authoritative source to go for approved images and other assets that my company has. Similarly, if I'm going to be meeting another colleague of mine, and it's in a location that I'm not familiar with, I can search for a company location by name. So if I search for Building 34, I get back this answer, which shows me the address, shows me an interactive map, and with this handy link, I can get directions to it, which is very useful if I'm on a mobile device. And Microsoft Search is also good for finding answers quickly to common questions. So let's say I'm looking for information on my company's paternity leave. Typing is hard. And with this answer card, I can get the gist of my company's parental leave policy without having to go into the policy document and read through it to find the answer. And I have this link that I can follow to get to more details if I need to. So all of these administrator-curated answers can be configured to vary by the country or the region that your user is from. So your users will see the relevant things for their geography as well. All right. Let's turn to another very common search scenario that our users use, people search. So when I type in the first name of a colleague, this people card for Miriam comes up. Microsoft Search notices that this is a people query and then shows me the basic information that she has, along with her schedule, who she reports to, and some other useful information. And I have these additional links that I can use to get to more information about her, find out who she's actually working with under her team. And this is the same people experience that you would find in SharePoint as the one that you would find if you started your search in office.com. So here's the same cards for the same query in office.com. And of course, it also appears in the same way if you're doing your search from Bing. In Bing, this special section that is clearly marked with my company's logo and the notice that says only Contoso employees can see this appear because I'm signed in to Bing securely with my work account. So sometimes I'm asked whether to use SharePoint search or Microsoft search. The truth is there's no distinction between the two. The modern search in SharePoint is Microsoft search. And Microsoft search expands beyond the web as well. So later this year, you'll be able to find the documents from your organization by clicking on the search box in your Windows 10 machines on the desktop. But today, let's take a look at how Microsoft Search appears in Office applications that we use every day. So here I am in Word. You will see that the search box is placed prominently again on top in its familiar place for our users. And again, when I click on it, I immediately get back suggestions. And these are contextual, so they include actions that are specific to Word as well, depending on where I am in the document. When you click on the File button, you can see that we have a search box here now as well, so you can easily start typing in to find the documents that you're looking for to open them easily. So having Microsoft Search in these applications that we use every day is a huge productivity booster. So if I was working on this report, and I wanted to reuse a slide that I saw in a presentation the other day, I can make that happen very easily by clicking on the search box, typing in I think it was this presentation with the round table. I can click on Add from Files, and this pane opens up and starts showing me all the slides from that document. And with one click, I can insert that slide right into my document without breaking my flow. Thank you. And last but not least, we are at the moment rolling out the new Microsoft Search Admin Center. And this is a central location that our administrators can go to manage the bookmarks, the questions and answers, and the locations that we saw just earlier. And later this year, I'm happy to announce, we will also have the capability to configure custom refiners, custom verticals, thank you, and your organization-specific result types with custom display templates coming later this year. Thank you very much.
So now that you've learned what's rolling out, are you excited to learn what's next? Okay. I'm really excited to share some announcements we have around Microsoft Search and what we have coming soon. First off, you all know the ability that we have to extract text from things like receipts and business cards. When you upload JPEGs and PNGs into OneDrive and SharePoint, we're actually automatically extracting those texts and actually classifying what they are as well. Now, we're really excited, based on a lot of feedback that I had from all of you, a lot of it personal too, to announce that we'll have that same text extraction coming from images inside of PDFs. So I'm happy about that one. Now, for our developers, we haven't forgotten you. We're also having a new private preview endpoint for the Microsoft Search APIs inside of the Microsoft Graph, so that you'll be able to build your own applications on top of everything that we're doing as well. Now, you saw earlier, we had a little vertical that shows conversations and Teams and Yammer, and we've had that for quite a long time inside of Microsoft Search and Bing's experience. We're going to bring that to every single one of the search endpoints we have in Microsoft Search, so you'll be able to source your conversations in Yammer and Teams everywhere. Last but not least, we know that the same is true for all of the videos that you have too. So regardless of whether those videos are stored inside of Stream, in SharePoint, or in OneDrive, you'll also have a dedicated video vertical within the search results page that allows you to see all of those areas. Now, one of the big promises we have around Microsoft Search is really boundarylessness across your organization. That means all of the data stores that you have inside of the company. So let me show you a little bit about how that will work. Now, the sharp-eyed among you may have already recognized that this is a search results page, but it's not just the SharePoint and OneDrive results that we're showing here. You'll see instead we have inside of here the ability for custom connectors. And so the Microsoft Graph connectors will be coming very soon. And as part of that, you'll be able to adapt and actually generate new experiences based on there. Now, in this case, we have ServiceNow. And ServiceNow is showing inside of here their ticket results. And you can see we'll also have support for adaptive cards as part of this. Now, with those adaptive cards, it means you get to control how that display of the information is working. And you'll also be able to read in information like the owner and how long that ticket has been open. And you can even take actions directly inside of this adaptive card. So you can see here we've got changing status and opening a ticket. So really excited about all of those areas coming up soon. Now, sorry. I'm going to transition a little bit now into talking about your everyday work. And Karem just showed you a little bit about what we're doing inside of Microsoft Word with Microsoft Search. But I want to take it one step further, because we really want to deliver you assistance right where you're creating the document. So in this case, I'm going to transition here to Word, and I'm going to write a task to myself. So I need to put in a description, and it's a reminder to myself as I'm creating this document that I need to put in a copy of this layout. Now, as soon as I start typing this, Office actually recognizes this automatically and makes suggestions for me directly here. Right? So I'm not typing in the search thing. Office is actually looking for it myself. So I can click on this one, looks like the right document, and it'll open up that broken images here, and it'll actually show me the image that I can import as part of this. So I can click to insert this and put this directly inside of my document. Now, this is all very cool, but we want to think about what's the next set of things that we can do inside of here. Now, wouldn't it be great if your organization's developers could actually put in custom search suggestions as your users are building new content inside of Word? Yeah, pretty cool? So let's see how that will work. So we insert here a chart of our 2019 sales. And again, Office is going to recognize this automatically. And your developers will be able to add this as part of Power BI and other systems that you want to develop in. So all very cool there. Now, it's not just these kind of Office 365 systems. I can include this data. I can even take it to the next level and include systems that are outside of Office 365. So in this case, we're actually linking off to a line of business system or your CRM system and being able to import that directly in here and use that contact detail and create right inside of the flow of my natural work. So there we go, included as all part of that. Very cool. So thank you for that. Now, I wanted to talk a little bit more about how we're thinking about democratizing knowledge and insights inside of your organization. And when we think about this area, it's really about understanding more in terms of what you're doing to use expertise across your entire company. And so this is one of the key areas that we're expanding on inside of Microsoft, and the area around machine teaching. Now, when we look at machine teaching, it's really critical to think about how we can use the expertise you have inside of the company to easily construct AI models that build on the machine learning that you have, but build on the expertise that you have as well. So let me show you a little bit about how this will work. I would love to show you a little bit how this will work. There we go. All right, so in the future, it will be as simple as really uploading and training and then publishing. So I'm here inside of a model. I'm creating a new model based on my SharePoint library. And as part of my SharePoint library here, I can actually upload a whole bunch of content that I probably already have. So I'm including all of those. Now, based on this upload, the machine will automatically pick out a file for me. And I look at this file here, and it will actually select the file and say, I can actually identify on top of this what's important as part of this file. Now, in this case, I could label out the name of a customer, for example. Now, that's all very simple, right? I can label customers. Maybe if I just wanted a match to all of the different customers we have inside of our company, that would be a pretty simple exercise. But the fundamental difference here is about how do I teach a machine to actually understand what the difference is between a customer name and just figuring it out automatically. Now, if I was teaching this to you as a person, you'd have some explanations. We'd talk about what was different, what was similar, and be able to outline that as well. Now, in the same approach here, I can use machine teaching to help explain the difference. So I'm going to go ahead and add an explanation. So here's my explanation. I'm going to say that we can probably figure out what the name of a customer is by looking at the word that's right before it. Because we can understand, in this case, that the word assist means we're trying to actually have the customer assisted. So we can figure out it's the customer who's being assisted. So we're looking for the word assist. The noun that comes after it is probably the customer name. So in this case, I would say assist is the string, but then you can see that automatically machine teaching has generated a whole different bunch of ways for me to say the same word as assist without me having to type this in. Now, this is a really simple example, but I hope that you can understand a little bit about how you could use all of the different experts inside of your company to actually showcase all of this different kinds of content. Now, that expertise really can lend itself through, for example, a procurement manager could put in their expert area and their explanation. We could also have a teacher or a lawyer be able to put in their information too. And so we can teach from these sample files and then have that explanations actually apply automatically to the next set of information. You can see that this document is really differently formatted, and so it's automatically applied the learning that it has from the last example and put it straight in. Now, as part of machine teaching, I can quickly say yes or no to does this look good, and in this case it does. Now, you can see that the score at the top of the page here has actually increased as the model gets more and more confident and has richer and richer set of information as part of it. We hope that you're as excited as we are about the evolution of our digital workplace and really bringing all of that new innovative technology into your everyday experiences. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Naomi. Thanks, Karam. We are really excited about this space of going beyond search to AI, where humans and systems interact to improve relevance and productivity. It's a big investment area for us. Naomi leads a new product team that we created last year with a big engineering investment behind it. And they're all watching right now and coding really hard because we want to show even more by Ignite in this space. So we've covered a lot of ground. We know it's a lot to digest, and we are here to help. First, we're working on improving our content and guidance and first-party migration tools online. Tens of thousands of organizations have used the new SharePoint migration tools, and you can see updates to those this week, as well as the guidance for how to plan, migrate, and adopt to not just SharePoint, but all of Microsoft 365. But we know we need to get in the game and help you directly. And so there's really two paths that work together. One is we have dedicated engineers at Microsoft in a program called Fast Track. You can search for it online, talk to them here, where we will assist you in those phases of adopting the technology. But our partner ecosystem has far more depth and breadth to tailor their services to meet your needs with everything from migration to application development to training to culture change and much more. And it's really important that we don't, in all the excitement about the demos, that we don't forget this aspect of change management and adoption, because it is essential for business today to embrace the pace of change in technology. But in order to do that, you've got to make these kinds of investments. And again, we're here to help. We just scratched the surface. What's next? This week at Vegas in the SharePoint conference, we have over 200 sessions of innovations from across the company. We are taking the 40 of those that are delivered by Microsoft presenters, and during the course of the week, as they're finished, we'll wrap them up and put them online for people viewing. And we'd love your feedback, both for this event and Ignite and other community events we participate around the world. So I'll close where we started, that this is an amazing time in technology, helping every organization transform, but also every individual realize their full potential. In order to take advantage of that technology, it takes a community that helps, learns, shares, and grows together. So we are very excited and inspired to work with all of you to build the intelligent workplace. Thank you very much. Enjoy the conference. We'll see you around.